Yes, sir.
At present, I am in PNG, University of Technology.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is near Australia,
Australia. Okay, okay.
Papua New
Papua.
Guinea.
Yeah, yes, 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 sir.
Earlier, I was in Ethiopia for 3.5 years.
Okay, okay. Yes, sir. I
Last
think,
June, that is
uh,
year June, I went there.
yeah, yeah. Because last time when we met in March, it was in Ethiopia only.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
But when you shared your biodata, no? Not biodata, your card, so I saw there PNG.
Ah,
So in our schedule, we are showing it PNG only, sir.
okay. Yes, sir. Just I am choosing this different topic when compared to normal things.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Uh,
it's a little different.
uh,
Yes.
yes, sir. I think something is different from others. I think I want to make it a global financial crisis from cracking depression to corking recession. Yes,
Calculation.
I made the title.
Yeah,
Yes, I want to just dig out what are the major financial crises all over the world.
Mhm.
I want to make it a brief. That is why I chosen this one.
Oh, okay, okay, sir. It's the right topic for this kind of program, sir.
Usually, I will go for any topic in finance and accounting. Usually,
Okay.
there is a balance of payment crisis for India or any other country.
Mhm.
Some other topics like investment management, security analysis.
Mhm.
That is information system, accounting information system. Like that, I
Okay.
am normally planning, but just I want to take it a little bit different topic. Just I think audience may be exposed with that different types of the crisis available all over the world. Just I want to mention something.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay.
And the day you are mentioned immediately, yes, very good topic, sir. You please
Yeah, yeah.
continue. Like that, you after your word only, just I made it clarify that.
Mhm.
Mm. How is Professor Jyoti Kumar, sir?
It's very fine, sir.
Okay, good, good. You are from which state, sir?
I am from UP, sir, Banaras.
Oh, Benares. Oh,
Yes,
very
yes.
good. Okay. Mm. Kantidas, sir, you are
Uh,
from?
he's from Assam. Vidu,
Yes.
they are there.
Oh, yes, in the same state. Okay, very good. In the nearby state. When you joined here, sir?
I joined together with Professor Jyoti, sir, in 2004.
Okay.
20 years.
Very good.
We came in same interview, sir. Professor Jyoti Kumar and myself.
Oh, excellent. Very good. Very good. Very good.
I was a lecturer at that time.
Mhm. Both are joined as associate professors.
No, I joined as lecturer, sir. And
Oh,
Professor
very
Jyoti
good.
Kumar joined as reader.
Yes,
At
associate.
that time, it was reader and lecturer. Now it is assistant professor, associate professor.
Okay, okay.
And you might be knowing Professor Soral from Sukhadia University.
Uh-huh,
He joined as professor, same interviews.
okay, okay.
So far, only 15 has joined. I'm sending a message to the participants.
Okay, please, sir. I think in 2015 or 16,
Uh-huh.
around 15, I applied as a professor for this Mizoram University, sir, once, long back.
Okay, 2015. Okay,
I think 2015.
not 15, sir. For management department or commerce, sir?
For management department.
Management, maybe. Okay.
I think exact, I don't remember the year, but I missed to attend the interview.
Oh, okay. You didn't miss, sir. We missed you.
No. God is
Yes,
good, sir. God
for
is
our
giving
department,
everything
two
which
posts
is
is vacant for almost 10 years.
Mm. Four, 5 years back, once Professor Jyoti Kumar sir visited to our department while I'm
Okay.
working in RVR and JC College of Engineering.
Oh, okay.
He visited our place, our college, for a guest lecture.
Okay.
After retirement from that college, I shifted to Ethiopia and again now in PNG.
Okay.
I was a student of Andhra University campus, sir.
Okay, university. Okay, sir.
Andhra University campus.
Okay.
I did my MBA and MCOM, both the courses in Andhra University campus only.
Okay, sir. Okay.
1999, I got PhD.
Okay.
Altogether 25 years back.
25 years, yes. Still around 25 only. We are having some 38 registered participants.
Uh-huh.
So we'll wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll start.
Okay. Regularly, how many participants are participated, sir?
Sir,
Regularly?
30 plus, 32, 33, like in that range.
Okay, okay.
30 plus.
30 plus, okay.
So it is 10:05. Should we start, sir?
Okay.
Okay, few of them may join little late.
Okay.
So, good morning to all the participants. And on behalf of all the participants, I welcome Professor B.K.Surya Prakash Rao, sir. He is a very senior professor. He got his degree, MBA, MCom, PhD from Andhra University. Uh, Earlier, he was working in Ethiopia, but recently he has joined Papua New Guinea University of Technology in PNG. And today is going to talk about global financial crisis from crackling depression to corking recession. Sir, we are having nearly 38 participants for this course. And these are from three streams mainly, commerce, economics, and management. Some 16, 17 are from commerce background. Some 10, 12 are from economics background, and some 4, 5 are from management background. They are from different states of India. They are representing 14 states. Some 7 are from Maharashtra, 6 from West Bengal, Assam and Tamil Nadu. They are 5. Mizoram only 2, and other states are 1 or 2. But coincidentally, no one is from Andhra University. So you are representing Andhra now. So Sir, you may start this session now, and our participants are not having access to this audio and video. So they will be putting their question on chat box. So towards the end of the session, I may pose these questions to you for your response.
Sure.
So request to the participants, keep on posting your questions for sir. This is a very different and very unique topic. And certainly that will be a thought for our mind, a food for our mind. So sir, time is yours. You may take care, sir. Sir. You may start, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Good morning, Professor Bharatan Singh, Dean, Economics, Commerce, Management and Information Sciences, Mizoram University, and coordinator of this refresh program, the Economics, Commerce and Business Management, and Dr. Bidhu Kanti Das, co-coordinator of this refresh program, Professor N.V. Jyoti Kumar, sir, dear participants. Yes.
Sir, sorry to disturb, sir. Sir, make your PPT full screen. It's not full screen.
Please, sir.
Presentation mode. Make it in presentation mode. I'm seeing that side panels are also coming.
Okay, just I will give you.
Yeah. Full screen. Go to slideshow menu, slideshow. On top, slideshow. On top, sir, menu, home, insert, design.
Sign.
So yeah, slideshow, sixth one.
Which one?
On sixth, slideshow. Slideshow. Slideshow.
Where it is available?
It is on top, sir. On top menu. Yes, closed. So reshare, I think it will do.
Just a minute. Okay, sir?
Still same thing, sir. You have to go on the top. Top menu is there. Where one column is there, slideshow.
Slideshow.
Yeah. Just above your mouse, sir. Just next. Yeah. This one. This just below that, sir. Or not this much, sir. Just below there. Yeah. Left. Yeah. This. Yeah. This, sir. Yes. And then first one, we start from beginning. Beginning.
Okay.
Before that, sir. Oh, above. No. You have to go in that menu, sir. Just above this first slide.
Oh.
From beginning, it is written, sir. From beginning, just above that. Below. Left side, sir. Left side. I'm seeing your mouse. So left side. Go to left.
Animation.
Below, sir. Below menu is there. Left. Before that. Before that, this, sir. From beginning. Before this, sir. Yes, fine, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Friends,
yes.
Today's my presentation is on global financial crisis from cracking depression to Corking recession. Just I am working as a professor in the School of Business, PNG University of Technology, Leh, Papua New Guinea. Yes, now I will go for what is global financial crisis. In generally, financial crisis is generally defined as any situation where the significant financial assets such as stocks or real estate suddenly experience a sharp decline in its value. There are two types of crisis in general. One is financial crisis, another one is physical crisis. Financial crisis is a generalized term for systematic problems in the larger financial sector of a country or countries. It is a global financial crisis, means it is a countries, entire globe they are facing. Financial crisis often, but not always, lead to recession. Another part is physical crisis. A physical crisis, on the other hand, refers to a problem with the government balance sheet. If a government's debt load creates funding or performance issues, it may be said to experience a physical crisis. That is, financial and physical crisis may occur independently or concurrently. Independently or concurrently means either independent they will come or otherwise combined together they identify. How the crisis considered? The consideration, yes, crisis considered in the following ways. One is the currencies, stock markets, and real economies of the world's fourth and fifth most populous nations, Indonesia and Russia, are in a free fall. This Indonesia and Russia is the fourth and fifth most populous countries in the world. Skyrocketing unemployment and insolvent banks, hammered by plunging commodity prices. In recent weeks, stock market panics have spread to North America and Europe for a long time. The global financial crisis refers to the period of extreme stress in global financial markets and banking systems all over the world. Main causes of the global financial crisis, the range of factors explaining, and the GFC and its sovereignty. Some of the key aspects of this global financial crisis are here. Excessive risk-taking in favorable macroeconomic environment by the countries, banks and other lenders were willing to make increasingly large volume of risky loans for a range of reasons, like competition increased between the individual lenders, and also many lenders providing housing loans did not closely assess the borrower's abilities to repay. The second point here, increased borrowing by banks and investors is another one. The third one is regulation and policy errors of the countries are identified, another reason. The fourth one is stress in the finance system of the country concerned. Fifth one is spillovers to other countries. And the sixth one is failure of financial firms, panic in financial markets. Those are just because of policy responses, lower interest rates, increased government spending, and stronger oversight of financial firms in the country concerned. What are the series of financial crises happened for long back? That is, the global financial crisis started way back 33 AD to till today. The financial pandemic of AD 33, loans by main Roman banking houses, 14th century banking crisis, the general crisis widespread in the early 17th century to the early 18th century in Europe, 18th century Great Tobacco Depression, that is British America Tobacco Depression, Great East Indian Bengal Bubble Crash, 1769 India. The Bengal bubble led to the Great Eastern Indian crash between 1757 to 1769. So many, that is series of financial crises identified. The Great Depression was a severe worldwide economic depression during the 1930s in the US is identified. The 20th century's financial crises are identified all over the world. Panic of 1901, 1907, a US economic recession for financial control of the Northern Pacific Railways. The Wall Street crash of 1929, also known as the Great Crash. The Great Depression 1929 to 1939, the worst depression of the modern history forever. The 1970s energy crisis, two worst crises of the year 1973. One is oil crisis and the other one is energy crisis in 1979. Bank stock crisis, that is Israel 1983. Black Monday, the global sudden, severe and largely unexpected stock market crash on October 19, 1987. Swadeshi bank crisis in 1990. 1991 Indian economic crisis. Likewise, many things are identified here. Finnish banking crisis, 1994 economic crisis in Mexico peso, 1997 Asian financial crisis, 1998 Russian financial crisis, 98-99 Ecuador financial crisis, Samba effect for Brazil in 1999, 21st century dot-com bubble 2000-2002 in US, the September 11 attack, also commonly referred to as 9/11, subprime mortgage crisis of US 2007 and 10, the automotive industry crisis 2008 and 10, the 2008 and 10 Irish banking crisis, Russian financial crisis during 2008 and 9, 2008 Latvian financial crisis. Likewise, so many things are identifying. Venezuela banking crisis, Spanish financial crisis, European sovereign debt crisis, great government debt crisis, Portuguese financial crisis, Cypriot financial crisis, Ukraine crisis, Russian financial crisis, Brazilian, Chinese, Turkish, Argentina, Sri Lanka, Chinese property crisis, Pakistan economic crisis. All these things are defined as series of financial crises that happened all over the world is defined. Now I will go for the Great Depression was a severe worldwide economic depression that took place mostly during the 1930s, beginning in the United States. The Great Depression 1932, on October 25th, 1929, the New York Stock Exchange saw 13 million shares being sold in panic selling by the customers. During the 1920s, the American economy grew at 42%, and stock market values had increased by 218% from 1992 to 1929. At an average rate of 20% a year for 7 years. No country had ever experienced such a run-up of stock prices, which attracted millions of Americans into financial speculation. The Great Depression 1932 is identified, the small diagram is identified. Yes, starting from 40% to declines to less than 140% to 40% decline. Yes, in this Great Depression 1932, nobody had seen the stock market crash coming, and Americans believed in permanent prosperity till it happened. There was no rational explanation for the collapse of the American stock markets in October 1929. Nearly US $30 billion were lost in a single day, wiping out thousands of investors. In the aftermath of the US stock market crash, a series of bank panics emanated from Europe in 1931, spreading financial contagion to United States, United Kingdom, France, and eventually the whole world, spiraled downward into the Great Depression. The Great Depression isolated from 1929 to 1939 and was worst economic downturn in the entire history of the world is identified. By 1933, 15 million Americans were unemployed. 20,000 companies went bankrupt, and a majority of American banks failed. In May 1931, Austria's largest bank, the Kreditanstalt, collapsed. In the period 1930-32, money supply in the United States fell by 26%, Germany by 27%, and United Kingdom and France by 18%. On September 16, 1931, United Kingdom suspended gold convertibility and allowed the pound to float. By 1933, 35 nations had abandoned gold and gold exchange standards. The decreases in value of exports in 1932 from the previous year was 35% in France, 40% in Germany, and 33% United States, as compared to 7% in United Kingdom and 19% in Canada is defined. The Suez Crisis. On July 26, 1956, Egypt nationalized the Suez Canal Company. France, Israel, and United Kingdom initiated jointly military action, with Israel invading the Sinai on October 29, 1956. All four countries were soon seeking financial assistance from IMF. The Suez Canal was closed for 6 months, resulting in trade diversion, cost increases, and delivery delays, impact the current account balance of all four countries in this region. In October 1956, Egypt, Israel, and France approached the IMF with financing requests to overcome the temporary balance of payments problems arising from the current account deficits. By September 1956, France witnessed a situation of law and depleting foreign exchange reserves. France sought a financial arrangement for 50% of its quota of US $263.5 million for their arrangement. Egypt was borrowing from the IMF for the second time. It was a conventional finance requesting the US $15 million, and the politics did not include in the IMF financing of Egypt is a demand. The international debt crisis began on August 20, 1982. Mexico could not repay the loan that was due and engulfed 20 countries. This was the commencement of a decade-long international debt crisis faced by Mexico is a demand. In March 1981, Poland informed its bank creditors that it could not repay its debt obligations. Poland pushed several other countries into drop-off. Romania, Hungary, and Yugoslavia also requested for rescheduling the terms of repayment of the international banks. The monetary contraction in the United States in 1970-80 period resulted in a sustained appreciation of the US dollar. It made repayments in dollar terms impossibly difficult for most countries of the East Europe and Latin America. The commercial debt crisis erupted in 1982 and lasted till 1989. In the 1970s, developing countries borrowed freely in the rapidly growing international credit markets at low rates of interest. Banks had grown cash rich with large deposits from oil exporting countries, and there was increased lending to oil importing countries. The loans were used on investment projects or to boost current consumption. Several developing countries had reached borrowings 12% of their national income, resulting in major debt servicing difficulties by these countries. Commercial banks believed that sovereign lending to developing countries was a highly profitable activity. Mexico and Poland were the first manifestations of the impending crisis. Soon after Mexico, several countries in Latin America, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Ecuador, Peru, and Uruguay encountered these debt servicing problems from their countries. The international debt crisis lasted from 1981 to 1989. It covered nearly 20 countries around the world, encompassing 30 different episodes from country to country. The three major East European countries affected Poland, Romania, and Hungary. And the three major Latin American countries are also affected, like Chile. The systematic crisis gradually subsided by 1983, although debt servicing difficulties remain. The period 1985 and 87 was a period of sustained growth, and developing countries could reduce the burden of servicing debt. By 1989, there was a marked improvement in external economic environment facing many of the indebted countries, which brought an end to the international debt crisis. 1991 India economic crisis. The 1981 economic crisis of India that resulted from poor economic policies, inefficient public sector units, and the resulting trade deficits, leading to balance of payment crisis, started worsening in 1985, and the government was running on a huge fiscal deficit. India's economic crisis in 1991 was caused by a number of factors, including balance of payments deficit. India's reliance on imports led to a deficit in its balance of payments. High fiscal deficit. India's fiscal deficit increased to 8% of its GDP. Current account deficit was 2.5% of its GDP. Depleted foreign exchange reserves. India's foreign exchange reserves were depleted. The Gulf War led to increased oil prices and reduced remittances from overseas workers. There was a loss of confidence in the government. In response to the crisis, India implemented economic reforms, including liberalization, privatization, disinvestment, devaluation of the Indian rupee is different. In February 1991, the Chandrasekhar government, as a prime minister at that time, was unable to pass the budget after Moody's downgraded India's bond ratings. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, suspended its loan program to India, and the World Bank also discontinued its assistance. To address the economic crisis, the government implemented various measures, including the pledge of significant portion of India's gold reserves to the Bank of England and the Union Bank of Switzerland as a collateral. Manmohan Singh, who served as India's finance minister in 1991, abolished the license Raja, which had been a source of corruption and slow economic growth for decades from the history. The East Asian crisis. The major economic crisis struck many East Asian economies in 1997. The East Asian economies, which were witnessing rapid growth and improvement in living standards, got embroiled in a severe financial crisis. The crisis was as a result of large external deficit, inflated property and stock market values, poor prudential regulation, lack of supervision, and exchange rate pegs to the US dollar, resulting in wide swings to the exchange rates, making international competitiveness unsustainable. The Southeast Asian currency collapse began in Thailand. Thailand's current account deficit and the interest on foreign obligations had exceeded 4% of Thailand's GDP. Creditors believed that Thailand's large current account deficit reflected high business investment, as it was backed by high saving rates and government budget surplus. Thailand maintained a fixed exchange rate relative to the dollar. foreign funds kept coming to Thailand. Given the high rates of interest on Thai baht deposits and the fixed exchange rate at 25 baht per dollar, but the baht's fixed value to the dollar could not be sustained. In 1996 and 1997, Japanese yen declined by 35% to the dollar. As foreign investors began selling bahts, government intervened to support its value. However, the currency could not be sustained and eventually Thai currency collapsed. On July 2nd, 1997, Thai baht was floated and depreciated by 15 to 20%. On July 24th, 2017, East Asia witnessed a currency meltdown with severe pressure on Indonesia rupee, the Thai baht, and the Malaysian ringgit. The 1997 Indonesia economic crisis brought an end to 30 years of uninterrupted economic growth and was among the worst faced by any country in the world in the 20th century. The Indonesia rupee depreciated from about 2,500 rupee per dollar in May 1997 to around 14,000 rupee per dollar by January 1998. It is almost, that is 4.5 times of the devaluation of Indonesia rupee is defined. But the closure of 16 banks created panic for this. Indonesia is defined. In 1997, Korea was the 11th largest economy in the world with inflation rate less than 5%. Unemployment is less than 3%, and GDP growth was 8% per annum. The Korean economic crisis emerged because its business and financial institutions had incurred short-term foreign debts of nearly 110 billion US dollars, which were 3 times of its foreign exchange reserves identified in Korea. Massive financial bailouts were necessitated as the country suspended debt payments to private creditors. The Korea won came under severe pressure and Korea opted for IMF bailout. Korea required the US 57 billion US dollars from IMF as a separate program. Indonesia required a US 40 billion dollars from IMF program is defined. The social cost of IMF program in Indonesia, Thailand, and Korea were severe. Sharp price rises were witnessed in all these 3 countries as a result of large exchange rate depreciations and massive job losses were seen. Food prices went up by 35%. Unemployment levels reached 12% in Indonesia, 9% in Korea, and 8% in Thailand. Of the 3 crisis countries, only Korea had formal unemployment insurance. The other countries did not offer any social protection arrangements that are defined. Now, the Russian crisis. In the mid-1990s, Russia was coming out of post-Soviet period to a market economy. That is Prakesha. There was a massive social dislocation, falling living standards, inflation indexes of 300%. Many Russians did not have savings for basic necessities of life. The source of inflation lay in a lack of physical discipline. Government ran huge budget deficits financed by the Central Bank of Russia. There was a large-scale tax evasion and huge capital flying. The weakening of the oil prices, coupled with the onset of the East Asian crisis in 1997, resulted in a sharp and sudden deterioration in Russia's terms of trade. There was a 25% fall in total exports, and there were lower inflows from international capital markets with rising cost of access to international capital markets. The Latin American debt crisis. The Latin American debt crisis occurred a number of times. In fact, 8 major continental crises occurred in its 200 years history. The first Latin American debt crisis taking place in 1826, 1828, followed by the crisis in 1873, 1890, and 1931. In the 20th century, the Latin American witnessed a major crisis in 1982, Mexico's default in 1994 to 1995. The tequila crisis in 2001 and 2002, Argentina's default in 1999 to 2003, Brazil's crisis in 2008 and 9. In February 1995, Mexico approached the IMF for US $17.8 billion standby arrangement for an 18-month program. This was the largest ever financing package approved by the IMF for any member country in the IMF. The Mexican financial crisis contributed to serious pressures in financial and exchange markets in a number of other Latin American countries. In 1998, Brazil came under significant pressure in the aftermath of East Asian crisis. Brazilian authorities took emergency fiscal and monetary policies measures, revenue raising and expenditure cuts equivalent to 2.5% of GDP and doubling of domestic lending rates to 43.5%. I think it is the first of its kind. The East Asian crisis, Brazil is identifying as lending rate 43.5% in the first time in the history. Brazil approached the IMF for the US $18 billion standby arrangement for 36 months. The program was largely preventive in nature with the objective to assist Brazil face a period of deep uncertainty in the international financial markets. Dot-com bubble 2000-2002 happened in the US. The dot-com bubble, also known as dot-com boom, the tech bubble, and the internet bubble, was stock market bubble caused by excessive speculation of internet-related companies in the late 1990s. In 2001 to 2002, Argentina experienced one of the worst economic crises in the history. GDP fall by 20% over 3 years. Inflation reignited. Argentina defaulted on its sovereign debt. The banking system was paralyzed, and the Argentina peso, which was pegged to the US dollar, reached the lowest of ARG, that is ARG dollar 3.9 to $1 in June 2002 is identified. Less than a year earlier, Argentina was cited. Yes, 1 year before, Argentina was cited as a model of successful economic reform. Inflation was in single digit. GDP was impressive, and the economy had successfully weathered the storm of tequila crisis. Argentina was considered a model reformer of 21st century economic governance. But Argentina crisis required an IMF standby arrangement of US 14 billion US dollars and an international support package of $40 billion defined. The Great Recession in 2008, severe recession unfolded in the United States and Europe, which was the deepest slump in the world's economy since 1930 and the first annual contraction since the post-war period. The financial crisis, which erupted in 2007 with the US subprime crisis, deepened and entered a turbulent phase by 2008. The impact was felt across the global financial system, including in emerging markets. The international financial system was devastated. The United States GDP fell by nearly 4% in the fourth quarter of 2008, with the broadest of US market indices. The S&P 500 down by 45% of its 2007 high. The world GDP growth slowed down from 5% in 2007 to 3.75% in 2008 and 2% in 2009. That means from 2007 high of 5% to a low of 2% in 2009. The IMF estimated the loan losses for global financial institutions yet 1.5 trillion US dollars. The Lehman Brothers collapsed in September 2008. Oil prices declined by over 50% as also food and other commodity prices. Emerging equity market lost about 1/3 of their value in local currencies and more than 40% of their value in dollar terms. It is faced with the imminent meltdown. The US Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank injected the US 2.5 trillion US dollars into the credit markets. The United States passed an economic stimulus legislation to use public funds to purchase troubled assets from banks, and several European countries implemented stimulus packages to manage the financial damage occurred. As the G8 member countries grappled with the crisis, it was important that given its mandate and wealth, China had to be included in the discussions. The G6, G20 framework representing 19 of the world's largest economies. Out of 19 of the world's largest economies, and the European Union became the coordinating body for handling the global crisis in the world. Subprime mortgage crisis in the US 2007 and 2010. The United States subprime mortgage crisis was a multinational financial crisis that occurred between 2007 and 2010 that contributed to the 2007-8 global financial crisis. It was the impetus for the subprime mortgage crisis. The emergence of subprime loan losses in 2007 began. The crisis was exposed other risky loans and overinflated asset prices, with loan losses mounting and the fall of Lehman Brothers on September 15, 2008. A major panic broke out on the interbank loan market in the world. On December 30, 2008, the Cash-Shiller Home Price Index reported its largest price drop in its history. There was the equivalent of bank run on shadow banking system, resulting in many large and well-established investment banks and commercial banks in the United States and Europe suffering huge losses and even facing bankruptcy, resulting in massive public financial assistance is identified. The automotive industry crisis of 2008 and 10 formed part of the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008 and the resulting Great Recession. The crisis affected European and Asian automobile manufacturers. The European crisis 2010. The year 2010, the European crisis unfolded. The euro area economy was in a trouble mess. The euro economy area had become too large and diverse. With the anti-inflation mandate of the European Central Bank to restrict demand, a group of European emerging market countries required financial support in 2008 and 9. The group included Georgia, Hungary, Iceland, Latvia, Ukraine, Armenia, Bosnia, and Herzegovina, Romania, and Serbia. In Greece, the homeless lined up at soap kitchens. Pensioners committed suicide. The sick could not get prescription medicines. Shops were shuttered and scavengers picked through dustbins. Conditions almost reminiscent of the post-war Europe is identified. Every person under 25 was unemployed. The Greece economy was teetering due to heavy public debt and loss of market access. High fiscal deficits and dependency on foreign borrowings fueled the demand. Healthcare and pension costs were very high at 4.5% and 12.5% of GDP respectively. Further, Greece had a poor business environment, high inflation well above the Eurozone average and low productivity. The governance systems were poor, hardly any inward FDI and public sector was highly inefficient. There were sovereign downgrades by rating agencies, sharp increase in non-performing loans or assets, and decline in viability of banks. Greece was misreporting its fiscal data for access to foreign borrowings. The fiscal deficit in 2008 was revised from 5% of GDP to 7.7% of GDP. And the fiscal deficit for 2008 was revised from 3.7% of GDP to 13.6% of GDP. The 2009 public debt data was revised from 99.6% of GDP to 115.1% of GDP. That is the public debt increased from 99.6% to 115.1% of GDP. IMF standby arrangement in 2010 for Greece was Euro 25 billion euros and bilateral program assistance was provided by Greece 15 partner Euro zone countries in ratio of their shares in the European Central Bank capital. Greece required an additional program with IMF in 2012 amounting 30 billion euros required by the Greece. The unprecedented crisis in the euro area also affected Ireland and Portugal. In Ireland, the global crisis had major repercussions on Irish banking sector. This was coupled with the bursting of the real market bubble resulting in a 41% collapse of investment and severe economic downturn. Ireland's exposure was Euro 90 billion dollars, 90 billion euros through European Central Bank and at Euro 150 billion euros through the Central Bank of Ireland. The initial crisis response from the Irish authorities was insufficient to stabilize the economy, and Ireland required an IMF program of 22.5 billion euros required by the Ireland. The Portugal had the lowest per capita income of founding member countries when it joined the euro area. Easy financing with euro accession sparked a spending boom and build-up of debt. Portugal failed to adhere to the physical rules of European Union's Stability and Growth Pact. By 2010, when financing began to dry up, Portugal had twin deficits, current account and fiscal deficit of 10% of GDP and public and private debt, which were amongst the highest in the euro area forever. Portugal required an IMF financing program of 20 billion euro currency is identified. The September 11 attack, commonly known as 9/11, were 4 coordinated Islamist terrorist suicide attacks carried out by Al-Qaeda against the United States in 2001. 19 terrorists hijacked 4 commercial airlines, crashing the first 2 into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, New York City, and the third plane into the Pentagon headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense in Arlington County, Virginia. The fourth plane crashed in rural Pennsylvania during passenger revolt. The September 11 attack killed 2,977 people, massive killing, making it the deadliest terrorist attack in the history. In response to the attacks, the United States waged the multi-decade global war on terror to eliminate hostile groups deemed terrorist organizations, as well as the foreign government purported to the support to them. COVID-19 recession is a global economic recession caused by COVID-19 pandemic. The recession, which began in February 2020, is the worst global financial crisis since the Great Depression. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a far-reaching economic consequence beyond the spread of disease itself and efforts to quarantine it. As the SARS-CoV-2 virus has spread around the globe, concerns have shifted from supply-side manufacturing issues to the decreased business in the service sector. The pandemic caused the second largest global recession in the history of the world, with more than 1/3 of the global population at the time being placed on lockdown. By 28 February 2020, stock markets worldwide saw their largest single week declines since the financial crisis 2007 and 8. In 2020, we conducted a study that is COVID-19. After COVID-19, we conducted a BRICS stock markets analysis we conducted. But most except China, the remaining all the countries, more than 25 to 34% fall in the stock markets within a week's time is identified. Global stock markets fell by 24th February 2020 due to a significant rise in number of COVID-19 cases outside mainland of China. By 28 February 2020, stock markets worldwide saw their largest single week declines since the financial crisis of 2007-2008. Black Monday, that is March 9th, 2020, the stock market crash was a major and sudden global stock market crash that began on 20th February 2020 and ended on 7th April. Black Thursday, that is 12th March 2020, was a global stock market crash on 12th March 2020 as a part of greater 2020 stock market crash. Within a month, within a week, on Monday and Thursday, the global stock market crash as a part of global stock market crash, US stock market suffered from the greatest single day percentage fall since 1987 stock market crashes and decline. Lebanon's liquidity crisis is an ongoing financial crisis affecting the nation of Lebanon starting in August 2019, which was further exacerbated by both the COVID-19 pandemic in Lebanon and the 2020 Beirut port explosion. The 2010-14 Portuguese financial crisis was part of the wider downturn of the Portuguese economy that started in 2001 and possibly ended in 2016-17. The period from 2010 and 14 was probably the hardest and more challenging part of the entire economic crisis. This period includes 2011 and 14. Crisis of Venezuela from 2012 to still today. The crisis in Venezuela is an ongoing socio-economic crisis and political crisis that began in Bolivarian Venezuela during the presidency of Hugo Chavez and has continued since. It has been marked by hyperinflation, escalating starvation, disease, crime, and mortality rates, resulting in a massive immigration from the country. Many people move out from Venezuela to the other countries. 2014-17 Brazilian economic crisis. From mid-2014 onward, Brazil experienced a severe economic crisis. The country's gross domestic product, GDP, fell by 3.5% in 2015, 3.3% in 2016, after which a small economic recovery began. That recovery continued until 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic began. Chinese stock market crash. The Chinese stock market turbulence began with the popping of stock market bubble on June 12th, 2015 and ended in early February 2016. A third of its value, that is 1/3 of value of A shares on Shanghai Stock Exchange, was lost within 1 month of the event. Major after stocks occurred around 27 July and 24th August, Black Monday, that is by 8-9 July 2015, the Shanghai stock market had fallen 30% over 3 weeks as 1,400 companies, or more than half listed companies, were fallen by 30%, filled for a trading halt in an attempt to prevent further losses. Values of Chinese stock markets continue to drop despite the efforts by the government to reduce the fall. After 3 stable weeks of Shanghai index fell again on 24th August by 8.48%, making the largest fall since 2007 in the China. In 2018, present Argentina monetary crisis is an ongoing severe devaluation of the Argentina peso caused by high inflation and steep fall in the perceived value of currency at the local level as it continually lost purchasing power, along with other domestic and international factors. As a result, the presidency of Mauricio Marico requested a loan from the International Monetary Fund. Turkish currency and debt crisis. In 2018 to 21, Turkish currency and debt crisis is a financial and economic crisis in Turkey. It was characterized by Turkey lira, dry, plugging in value, high inflation, rising borrowing cost, and correspondingly rising loan defaults. The crisis was caused by Turkish economy's excessive current account deficit and large amounts of private foreign currency denominated debt. In combination with the President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, increasing authoritarianism and his unorthodox ideas about interest rate policy, some analysts also stress the leveraging effects of geopolitical frictions with the United States and recently enforced tariffs by the Trump administration on some Turkish products such as steel and aluminum. US market aftermath. The Nasdaq Composite Index fell 174.72 points, that is minus 6.9%, closing at 2,357.69. S&P 500 index shed 79.92 points, that is minus 6.6%. The New York Stock Exchange lost 520.02 points, that is minus 7.05% of loss, finishing the day at 6,896.05. And Dow Jones industrial average lost 634.76 points, that is minus 5.55%, to close at the 10,809.85. Both the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Nasdaq Composite Index ended the day at their respective sessions low. Sri Lanka economic crisis. The Sri Lankan economic crisis is an ongoing crisis that started in 2019. It is the country's worst economic crisis since its independence in 1948. It was led to unprecedented levels of inflation, near depletion of foreign exchange reserves, shortage of medical supplies, and an average increase in prices of basic commodities. Crisis is said to have begun due to multiple compounding factors like tax cuts, money creation, nationwide policy to shift to organic or biological farming, the 2019 Sri Lanka Easter bombing, and the impact of COVID-19 pandemic in Sri Lanka. The subsequent economic hardships resulted in the 2022 Sri Lanka protests. Sri Lanka received a lifeline in the form of an Indian line of credit amounting to $4 billion supplied by the Indian government to Sri Lanka. The substantial credit infusion served to cover the cost of importing essential goods and fuel. The Sri Lanka had been earmarked for sovereign default as the remaining foreign exchange reserves of US $1.9 billion as of March 2022 would not be sufficient to pay the country's foreign debt obligations for 2022, with $4 billion to be repaid on an international sovereign bond repayment. $1 billion was due to be paid by the government in July 22. Bloomberg reported that Sri Lanka had a total of $8.6 billion in repayments due in 2022, including both the local debt and foreign debt. In April 2022, the Sri Lankan government announced that it was defaulting, making it the worst sovereign default in Sri Lankan history since its independence in 1948, and the first state in the Asia Pacific region to enter sovereign default in the 21st century. In June 2022, then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said in the parliament that the economy had collapsed, leaving it unable to pay for essentials. In September 22, a United Nations report said that the economic crisis is as a result of officials' immunity for human rights abuses and economic crisis. According to the Sri Lankan Finance Ministry, the country's foreign reserves had grown by 23.5% from US $1.7 billion in September 2022 to US $2.1 billion in February 2023, representing a US $400 million increase. The Sri Lanka teeters on the edge of financial insolvency has halted repayments on its international debt. The Sri Lanka's economy has been hit hard by multiple crises, leading to a debt default and severe economic shock in 2022. This resulted in deep recession in 2022, minus 7.8% of GDP growth rate. The impact of the economic crisis on the labor market has, however, not translated yet into a sharp rise in the unemployment rate. At the same time, out-migration of more than 535,000 Sri Lankans for foreign employment, January 2022, September 23, has kept a lid on labor market pressures and reform. I think 535,000 Sri Lankans are shifted to other countries for getting the jobs. May 2022, Sri Lanka is declared in default after it fails to make a smaller $78 million bond coupon payment. July 2022, public anger drives protesters to storm then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's office and residence. Rajapaksa flees to the Maldives before moving on to Singapore. March 2023, the International Monetary Fund approves nearly $3 billion bailout for Sri Lanka after talks with working Singh government and assurance about its plans to repair the country's finances. On October 2023, Sri Lanka announces an agreement with the China Exim Export-Import Bank to delay repayments on about $4.2 billion worth of loans to the Chinese lender it has extended to the country. November 2023, other creditor nations including India, Japan, France agreed to restructure about $5.9 billion in debt. March 2024, a group of Sri Lankan officials arrives in London to meet with a number of investment funds that hold its more than $12 billion worth of government bonds. Talks advance to the key restricted phase where proposals are discussed with the privately and those involved agree not to buy or sell any of the debt on the open market by the public and government. Sri Lankan economic collapse is identified with a graphical presentation bond market is identified as declined abnormally from 100 to around decreased to 20 and after that increased to 50. That is identified. Pakistan has experienced an economic crisis as a part of 2022 political unrest. It caused severe economic challenges for months due to which food, gas and oil prices have risen. Pakistan cut jobs, to secure $7 million IMF loan, Pakistan cut nearly 1.5 lakh government jobs, closed 6 ministries, and merged 2 others as a part of its deal with the global financial region. The agency reported that Pakistan announced this to reduce administrative expenditures. The IMF agreed to the assistance package on September 26, 2024 and released $1 billion. The first segment, Pakistan's economic crisis, is the biggest crisis since its independence certified. China's obstruction towards this Pakistan financing. The International Monetary Fund also asked Pakistan to stop setting up of industrial zones that offer incentives for investment. This move is likely to undermine Islamabad's efforts to attract more Chinese industries into the country. Yes, IMF is obstructed these Chinese economic zones. The Pakistan has experienced an economic crisis as a part of 2022 political unrest. It has caused severe economic challenges for months due to food, gas, and other things. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has caused fuel prices to rise worldwide. Excessive external borrowings by country over the years raised the separate default, causing the currency to fall and making importers more expensive in relative terms. By June 2022, inflation was at an all-time high, along with rising food prices also. Poor governance and low productivity per capita in comparison with the other low to middle income developing countries have contributed to a balance of payment crisis. Whether the country is unable to earn enough foreign exchange to fund the imports that it consumes. The war in Ukraine has also resulted in significant losses of human capital, destruction of agricultural trading infrastructure, huge damage to production capacity, including through the loss of electricity and a reduction in private consumption of more than a third, 1/3 of relative to pre-war levels of the country. Now we'll go for conclusions. The pre-World War I, the highly credible gold standard provided long-term exchange rate stability and eliminated exchange rate risk. The October 2029, the Great Depression mean a sudden stop of foreign capital flows to United States and Europe. As the pound was devalued, massive capital flight occurred, resulting in competitive devaluations, exchange restrictions, capital controls, and trade barriers. The 1944 Bretton Woods Conference resulted in the creation of the International Monetary Fund and formulation of a set of rules to address the challenges faced by the world. By 1972, Bretton Woods Agreement had collapsed and the IMF's Articles of Agreement were amended to legitimize floating exchange rates. The first 20 years of floating exchange rates were disappointing with the emergence of imbalances between the advanced economies and the developing countries. Capital accounts crises were witnessed in several emerging market countries in 1990s and to 2000, like Mexico in 1994, Asian economies in 1996-97, Russia 1998, Brazil 1999, and Argentina in 2002. The IMF was in doldrums in the early 2000s with no lending except for concessional lending to low-income countries. The United States kept running large deficits while China, Japan, and Germany ran large current account surpluses. The Great Recession occurred in 2008. During the Great Recession, as in the Great Depression, the world economy witnessed volatile capital flows, scramble for reserves, and irregular burden of adjustment, secular stagnation, and concerns about currency wars. there are parallels between the Great Depression and Great Recession. There are challenges arising from unemployment, economic frustration, and social tensions, all of which were legacy of financial crisis. The currency wars of today resemble the currency depreciations, exchange rate restrictions, and trade barriers of the 1930s. Great Depression of USA, Great Depression of USA. The bank failures, 50% of banks, unemployment rate 25%, economic decline 26% of GDP, inflation minus 25%. Then Great Recession is USA, bank failures 0.6% of banks, unemployment rate is 9%, the economic decline is minus 3%, inflation plus 0.5%. That means from Great Depression to Recession is identified. That the bank failures 50% to reduce to 0.6%. Unemployment that is reduced from 25% to 9%. Economic decline, GDP minus 26% to minus 3%. Inflation minus 25% to plus 0.5%. That is identified as Great Depression of USA and Great Recession of USA is identified in the tabulation. The current issues witnessed in the international monetary system, the scramble for international reserves, the risk of secular stagnation, and the world of secular stagnation becoming a world of currency wars were witnessed in the past too. With monetary policy as its limits, physical policy hobbled by high debt and political constraints, it becomes very tempting to boost aggregate demand through currency depreciation. The issues of international policy coordination requires increased multilateralization. Thank you, friends.
Oh, thanks for your presentation, sir. Sir, we have received two questions.
Okay.
So, should I read it for you, sir?
Okay, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir. We received two questions.
Okay.
Should I read it for you, sir?
Okay, just I will write. Just I will. Questions in the chat now?
Yeah, yes, sir. One in chat, one in Q&A box.
Most of your questions in the question mark. Okay. How did the peg exchange rate in East Asian countries cause high external debt and subsequent Asian crisis? Yes, in my slide I explained that is the peg is identified using East Asian crisis. Before starting the East Asian crisis, that is the external debt crisis and subsequent issue East Asian crisis. They are identified as the peg was very, very East Asian crisis. Okay. The peg exchange rate, I want to give you question. The first question I want to go to give the answer. Sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, just a minute, just a minute.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay. The peg exchange rate in East Asian countries cause high external debt is identified. Yes, it's because of the East Asian countries are identified using because of the East Asian economic crisis subsequently happened. That is, the peg exchange rate is very, very high, is identified. That is, the peg exchange rate is going to go using as more than 30% fall is identified. That is identified in the peg currency is identified. The peg is going to exchange with the foreign dollars. Is going to be using that is identified. Then peg, I don't think Rupiah of Indonesia currency also declined very, very high. Is identified. That is the peg currency also decreased. Is going to be using as there is Thailand currency is identified. That is declined very, very high rates are identified. It is only after there is a East Asian economic crisis are happened. Hello?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
The peg currency was compared to US dollar is abnormally declines. Unstable exchange rates are identified with the US dollar and different. Because of that is larger external deficit, inflated properties, stock market values are completely downfall. The lack of supervision and exchange rates of peg to US dollars are using. Yes, the wide swings to the exchange rates making international competitiveness of sustainable development in these countries are different. That is the stuff.
Sir, there
what
are
is the
two
other
questions,
sir?
Sir, other two questions are there in Q&A box. If you see down, Q&A is written. Below.
Yes,
below.
Where is it?
Or I may read Q&A.
Q&A. Yes, where it is. Okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, how tax
Below,
evasion
lower
affect
line.
the country's economic growth? Yes, first question, how tax evasion affect the country's economic growth? Usually, tax evasion is identified in any country. What happened here? The money is transferred to the other countries where the tax haven countries are available. The country's currencies go on moving out. Yes, they are transferred to the other countries. Because of these things are happened, because of some countries are tax haven countries are available. From those tax evasion people are shifting the money from this country to the other countries. That is why these tax haven affect the country's economic growth is usually identified. But many companies in India also, they are pumping their money to the suitcase companies in other countries also. Maldives, some other Mauritius are tax countries available. Shifting the currencies from this country to other countries. But of course, they are converting the Indian currency into foreign currencies. But what happened here? Those things are identical using. Yes, it is free to transfer to other countries or different. Yes, sir. Certainly, the tax evasion is affects the country's economic growth as 100%. There is no doubt. The other question is, what are the solutions to overcome the economic crisis one should follow? Yes, you can follow the economic crisis. What happened using? You are supposed to identify the stringent rules. Please remember here, many countries failing the banking system all over the world. Yes, what is the subprime impact? What happened here? Because of subprime impact identified due to the without verifying the repayment capacity of the borrowers. They are lending the money abnormally. But in 2007 to 10, what happened? Subprime impact identified collapsed the entire economy of that is US and different. So what happened? Not only the effect is only in US, but the entire world was faced because of what happened using many people are working in the America. For example, America is a mini globe. America is a mini globe. So from each and every part of the world, are working in America. So what happened here? Yes, each and every employee working in America, what happened? They are pumping their money to their home countries are income. In this case, what happened? Using the system. Please remember here one more thing. Yes, Indian banking system after 1991 on Manmohan Singh, as economic reforms, the banking sector reforms happened. Still today, many times after 2007 also, many banks were collapsed. Yes, in American markets, but Indian banks are never affected. Why? Because of stringent rules are identified by the RBI from 1991 onwards. Without changing that, the time banking regulations are not reformed, what happened? The Indian banking system long back collapsed. Because of Manmohan Singh's and P.V. Narasimha Rao's, that is the intelligence, they are able to identify the survival of the country identified with the help of these two people only. That is system. Yes, what happened? The economic crisis should be controlled by the economies, reforms, and regulations only. Without proper regulations, the economic development is not possible. Yes, with the help of regulations and reforms only, you are able to control the financial crisis all over the world. Each and every country should follow the reforms and regulations perfectly. That's all. Okay, sir?
Sir, we had only these 3 questions.
India in correcting the global economic crisis. Yes, sir. Today, India is identified. Many countries are looking towards India. Many countries. Yes, sir. Today what happened? Many systems in India, including stock markets, banking systems are excellent in this country. Yes, sir. Many countries are looking forward to these countries for regulating the economic crisis very, very effectively by following the Indian economy rules and regulations. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The India can play a major role in the worldwide and the global markets to control and regulate the economic crisis all over the world. Yes, no doubt. Sir.
Sir, we don't have any other questions. That's all. So we may conclude this session here.
Okay.
So thank you, sir, for joining us and giving a nice presentation on this different kind of topic. Okay. So thank you, sir. And in future also, we will be contacting you for some other sessions.
Most welcome, sir. Thank you very much for involving me. Yes, it is excellent. I'm very, very much happy. And thank you very much for introducing and introducing this program. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.